Welcome to Inside Heavy. Metal Blade Records just announced that they have signed Don Jamieson from That Metal Show to record a comedy CD on their label. Don joins us right here at Inside Heavy to talk about the upcoming album in 2011. And of course, we're going to talk metal. You don't want to miss this. Stick around. Don Jamieson joins us when we return.
Metal Freak. T-shirts, hats, DVDs, posters, CDs, and downloads. It's an all-in heavy metal superstore. Metal Freak.
We are back with Don Jamieson from That Metal Show, right here on Inside Heavy, the world's inside source to heavy metal. Don Jamieson from That Metal Show, a stand-up comedian in his own right. Welcome to Inside Heavy. Excellent to have you here with us.
Great to be here, man. I've been cranking Thin Lizzy all morning, getting myself metaled up, and ready to talk about everything hard and heavy with you, man.
Fantastic. Well, let's start off talking about your news. Metal Blade Records has announced that they're going to be working with you, and you're going to be putting out a comedy CD, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to do a live stand-up CD. I'm the first comedian that they've signed to their label, and I mean, it's just to see the Metal Blade imprint on my album is good enough for me. I mean, I don't tell them, but I would have gladly done this for free. So I'm so stoked to be on this label. It's such an important label in this country for metal, so it's awesome.
They've been around a long time, back in the days of early, 80s, late, maybe, I think early 80s is when Brian Schlegel got started with that.
Yeah, it's about 30. I think 81 was officially when Metal Blade got started. But, you know, Brian was making like bootleg cassettes of like Metallica, like even before that. I mean, he's basically the guy that brought them to this country. Lars and James didn't even have a band, and Brian was like, I'm going to do this compilation, cassette, and, if you can come up with a band or something, I'll put your song on. And
right.
I think they came up with a pretty good band.
Well, absolutely. Hall of Famers. I never guessed that back in the day, that Metallica would be in the Hall of Fame. That blows my mind to this day.
Yeah, well, no, deservedly. But I agree. Like, when Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning came out, I mean, I was, deeply entrenched in the metal scene by that point. But even I was like, wow, this is some really new and different stuff. Like, it was almost a little too intense for me when I first heard it. And, now, I mean, bands are just get heavier and heavier. But, Metallica's experimented a lot over the years too, to some good results and some not so good. But, there's no doubt they are one of the biggest bands on the planet.
Absolutely. Back in the day, I was one of those kids that would get Hit Parader magazine, and I could tell you all the little facts that don't mean nothing to anybody, but little stupid stuff, because I was an avid fan of this stuff. But I was kind of a Motley Crue, Dokken type fan. I was always a huge fan of George Lynch, but so Metallica was always in the back, the black and white little pictures and stuff back in those days. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like them. I was, that's what an idiot I was, I guess. I didn't care for them, and it was appearance kind of a thing. Right. I thought it was a little too hard, a little too heavy, a little too dark for me. I'd rather hear David Lee Roth sing about, partying or something like that. But as time, then I got to see them, Master of Puppets tours. And there was something about them that stuck in my head. And they had a huge underground following. And not too long after that, they started to become who they are today. They're an amazing band. I loved them in concert. They were great.
I agree with you 100%. It took me to see them, and I first saw them on the Master of Puppets tour. They opened for Ozzy, I remember. Ozzy was on the Ultimate Sin tour at the time, and when I saw them live, I totally got it. And from that day on, I've followed them all. I even don't mind, the Load album. I mean, I know a lot of people, give them a lot of crap for that, but the only album I can't really stomach by them is Saint Anger. But that's pretty much across the board with people. But I love Death Magnetic. I think it was such a great comeback for them, and yeah, they're awesome, man. They're definitely one band that would be at the top of my hit list for, the next season of that Metal Show.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. And now you're label mates with them. Well, they kind of. You're in that lineage with them on Metal Blade Records. They're not there no more, but I share that with you though. Master of Puppets with Ozzy Osbourne. That's when I seen them too in Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah, well, look, just to be, like I said, just to be a part of this label, King Diamond and Amon Amarth and just so many amazing bands over the years. It's killer. And, my stand-up act is very loud and aggressive. So, I think I'll fit in, with the current catalog, and hopefully I'll put out one of the heaviest releases on Metal Blade in 2011.
Absolutely. Now, do you have it planned where it's going to be recorded? Is it a venue that's already scheduled to happen? Yeah, well,
I'm gonna tape it at the end of January. And I grew up in New Jersey. Me and Eddie and Jim from the show, we all grew up in Jersey, so we're Jersey guys. And I figured for my very first live stand-up album, I'll get a bunch of crazy Jersey metalheads. Mm-hmm. Pack a room and do a couple shows and put out something pretty killer. I hope, we have pretty good recognition in Jersey. So I think for my first one, it'll be good. And, but it's great everywhere I go, man. It's just like there's so many fans of the show, and there's definitely a lot more mullets in the crowd at comedy clubs than there used to be. So, and that always makes me feel good.
Right. Now, do many comedians put out albums anymore like this? I don't really, maybe I just don't follow it. I don't know. But, back in the day, everyone who did anything had an album out every once in a while. Even comedy movies like Cheech and Chong were on, albums. Do many comedians do this much anymore as far as comedy albums?
Well, I mean, I think, kind of the latest trend is actually, so-called metal comics, even though, like a guy like me or Brian Posehn, my co-host Jim Florentine, Doug Stanhope, Brian Posehn put out a CD on a comedy CD on Relapse Records, which is a metal label, and then Roadrunner Records just signed Doug Stanhope. So there's this little trend going on with metal labels signing comics. And while I don't mind being labeled as a metal comic, there's obviously a lot more to my act than talking about metal or music in general. But I think it's just a certain attitude. Like, we had Brian Posehn on our TV show, and he said, I used to be so afraid to talk about metal in my act, but as a comic, you have to talk about the things in your life that are important to you. So he's like, I finally just gave up and started talking about heavy metal in my act, and even just regular comedy audiences really responded, even if they weren't into metal or whatever. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to put out an album that'll appeal to metal fans, but also one that'll just appeal to comedy fans.
Well, why not a DVD though?
I don't really do much, I just kind of stand there and curse. So there's not much of a visual to it, but I think we may tape it and see what we get, and maybe we'll do a little bonus thing or something like that, or some extra content on the website. But it's just me cursing into a mic. So